Okay, so last time we reviewed how to build surveys in the enrollment process. And so now we're ready to build our ARMs. And this is definitely the meat of Way to Health because this is going to be like the encounter and the intervention that the participants receive. So I just designed, you'll see on the paper, a little intervention that builds off of our enrollment. So as you know, we're designing an intervention to help overweight male and female fast food employees lose weight. We believe that there are different strategies to promote weight loss depending on gender, and we're going to test this using a Whiting scale and bidirectional text messaging. So you plan to send motivational text messages and positive feedback to participants in the female arm, and I outlined the protocol below. So for our female arm intervention, it's going to be 30 days. We're going to ask participants to weigh in on the scale every day. We're going to provide feedback on their weight from the previous day. We're going to send motivational text messages at various time points. We're going to ask participants questions with encouraging feedback, and then we're going to administer an end-of-study survey. So when you are designing, and I know a lot of you guys have done this before, like designing your protocol, I usually ask you to map it out like I have here with the schedule. So we're just going to go ahead and dive in, and we'll start with number 1, which is the welcome message. So when you are logged into Way to Health, you're going to navigate over to the study arms.
And make sure that you're in your test
account, not your real
So Stacey might have to refresh.
Okay. And if you remember from last time, we quickly created our male and female arms already. Just to highlight before we actually dive into the female arm, because I didn't talk about this last time, when you are creating the arm, you have some of these options here. So obviously you're going to name the arm. You will delineate how many participants. So I want 50 in the male arm and 50 in the female arm. And we are auto starting. So this means as soon as a participant completes the enrollment process, they immediately start in Way to Health instead of manually starting by a research coordinator or by you guys. If you are paying people, which I don't think will ever be the case for you guys, you have to select payments, and then if you have a lottery, you also select lottery.
Devin, what's the subdivide this arm?
So that's for the cohort team function.
Oh, okay.
And then the medication reminders will, I believe we're getting rid of this, so I don't know, it was a debate on Slack this morning.
Yeah.
And then medication names will allow you to, basically in the participant's profile, if you want to track a certain, like if it's about a statin medication, if you want to collect that information, this will create a page in their profile, let you put the medication information in. And then there's also the option for partners. So the difference between participant partners and support partners is that participant partners are basically like a full partner in that they can log into the website, they can view resources. It's a much more active role, whereas typically people just use support partners where you could, if a patient is non-adherent for their medication for a week, then you send a text to the support partner to follow up or to help them. And again, you would just select this. You'd say how many support partners. And then when you're building feedback, you'll see that support partner is an option. Instead of like participant, you would message a support partner.
Where do you build
in the profile?
Okay, great.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to save this. So now we're going to go into the actual encounter schedule.
So this is for you if you just want to create.
Yeah.
You want me to help you?
That would be great.
Okay.
So you're going to go into the encounter schedule, and you'll see right now that there should be nothing there. So the first place that you're going to want to navigate is over to this Add New Encounter. So the first thing that we're going to do, according to our protocol, is we want to send the participant a welcome message, just welcoming them to the program. So we're going to select a roundup, and I'll explain what that is more in a second. And I'm going to name this welcome message. And because I want it to be a welcome message as soon as they start in the study, I'm going to start it on day 0. Way to Health starts on day 0. I think that might be changing. I don't know, Iris, if that's changing eventually, but
Hopefully.
We would communicate that.
yeah, we would
Yeah,
obviously
Right now, I think
communicate.
let's just like
Assume that
Yeah.
Way to Health starts on day 0. And then we'll leave it at 12 a.m. because this means that no matter what time they're enrolled, if they're enrolled at 8 a.m. or 2 p.m., they'll get it almost immediately after they're started. If you didn't want it to go until, 8 p.m. that night, you could set this time at 8 p.m. And we're not going to repeat it because it's just the welcome message. So I'm going to go over here and click Add. And then you can see here, you can see the name of the encounter. You can see when it starts and what day it starts and what time it starts. So in order to actually add the feedback or the message to the participant, we're going to go into feedback.
Why is it called feedback?
Because this is what's getting sent out to the participant. It's feedback to the participant.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense to me, but there's other things that it does, right? Like it can also like be an action off of an encounter.
Oh, for a roundup, yeah.
Yeah. So right. Yeah, I think that's something. Does that
What
feel?
led you kind of like to ask that? Like,
I don't know. I just
But-
remember always being a bit confused by it before as we were building out arms for the ERAP studies. It just didn't intuitively make sense for me because I guess as we were building out the bidirectional stuff, it was more like we want to get information from them and also send stuff, which I guess to me, I don't know, it just, for some reason, feedback wasn't intuitive for me.
Maybe you guys could talk about that offline.
Yeah.
But they're all called that, so at least it's consistent across encounters. You only have one option here, so we're going to just say if, and then we're going to actually leave this blank. So basically if completed, which means just when this runs at the beginning of the study, then we want to send a message. And the great thing about roundups is that you can select the participant, you can select the recipient. So here I have a couple options, and if I had set up support partners, that would be an option here as well. So I'm going to select participant, and then you'll see down here at under the text messaging box or the messaging box that you have these variable options. So you can literally copy paste one of those, and it will insert the person's name. It will insert, their ID, whatever. Those are your options for it will autofill. So I'm gonna say, welcome to the Way to Weight Loss Study. Thank you for enrolling.
Evan,
Sure.
sorry, I'm a little bit behind, but
Yeah,
we
no
have
problem.
the roundup and then we have to add a message after that.
Correct.
That includes the text.
Yep.
Okay.
So you'll add it, add the new encounter with the timing, and then you'll go and you'll press add, and then you'll go to feedback, and that's where I am right now.
Okay.
So in this case, it feels like a 2-step process for kind of a 1-step thing, but it's like in the first part, you're kind of setting when the thing is going to happen. In this.
Okay.
And then you're setting what is
Okay.
happening.
Mine doesn't show the then where it says all of the following.
So can you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a look.
So what do
I may have done
roundup
this wrong because I added the
do?
roundup.
So
and
what
So-
all can roundup?
so
yeah,
roundups
so,
generally
that
look at
one
a previous encounter and decide what to do off of that. So this isn't the best example of what a roundup is actually designed to do. So the best example, which we're going to do in a minute, is let's say yesterday you weighed in on your scale. Then tomorrow the roundup will look and see what your weight was and send you feedback based on that.
Yeah. Are you guys?
So it
all
looks
ready?
at a previous event and decides what to send. So
I'm just watching here.
it will look at the scale yesterday and say, did you weigh in? Yes, then send this. Did you not weigh in? Then send that.
Okay.
And I'll go over that in a minute.
Okay.
This
And we
is
use it
literally
for the
just sending
bi-directional
it.
messages as well.
Where this process
Yes, this
is
will
what
send
it
the
is.
prompts for the bidirectional messages,
Okay.
which I'm
Like, I
also
feel
going to
like-
go over.
I understand like what this is, but I would love to see like what it looks like after you like someone sees it. Does that make sense? Like on the front end.
For the participant?
Yeah.
To
Well-
see that currently, you would have to test.
Yeah, like
your
create a test
arm.
participant,
Yeah.
which is the next session. So.
It doesn't create kind of like an automatic preview.
Okay.
Although that's a great idea.
I can
Yeah.
show you like one of mine for the study we have right now, like what the participant sees, and we don't really, we do it for them, so they're not really seeing that part of the browser.
Maybe I have that study of
Okay. Yeah, you've probably seen it.
Okay, so now that we've put our text in, one thing to note with Way to Health that's kind of sucky is that if you want to, so like obviously you type up your protocol ahead of time. Unfortunately, you can't just copy paste the words from your Word into Way to Health if you're using text messaging, because something with the formatting, it like jumbles it up and like it will split the text into multiple texts and they won't be in order, and it's just like it's a mess. So it's annoying, but you should just hand type it out. You can copy paste from Way to Health to Way to Health. So if you're like just like doing it multiple times, like you can do that, but from Word to Way to Health you can't. And then also a limitation with text messaging, this has nothing to do with Way to Health, is that you can only, if you want the text to be in one text instead of split out, you can only have 160 characters. It's okay if it's longer than that, it's just going to be in 2 text messages. And so that's just something to think
But
about.
something to consider also, because I know that Amy, I think you had a question about like text messaging rates and things like that. So like if it sends 2 messages, it's 2 text messages. So
There's no way to like upload something from an Excel spreadsheet and have it auto set like text messages or something like that.
no. And I think the copy and paste issue is something that's in Iris's queue, so it will be fixed eventually, but Devin is going to basically give you all the tricks of the trade
Yeah.
as it currently exists, because you guys
Yeah.
all are doing things right here and now, and you need the system, so.
And
Is
then
there a character counter? Like, will it tell you if it's over 160, or you have to count it yourself? That would be amazing if it could tell you something.
Yes.
It's in our
It would be
queue.
amazing.
It's actually in our queue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also in the queue.
So everything here is for text.
Yeah, because I like made it like a bidirectional text messaging study, I'm gonna send everything via text.
Okay.
So
I thought this was like what you see when you enroll, but that's why I was asking if I could see what each of them.
Oh.
Yeah, but this makes sense.
I see what you're saying. Sorry, that wasn't clear. So I'm actually gonna select, because Way to Health gives you the option. How would you like this message to be delivered? So basically, every participant, when they enroll, either on the front end or the back end, either by you guys or themselves, they'll be able to select their notification preference. But because this is like a texting study, just as a safeguard, I always put these as text only, just in case they like selected email or somehow it got, because Way to Health defaults to email, I believe. So I put text only. So this is all we need to do for this one. So we're going to click Save Feedback.
And the display prominently for a number of days, is that only if it's on the participant-facing site?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's generally wouldn't be for like, maybe if you had instructions or something that you wanted to make sure that the participants saw if they logged into their site for, the first 2 weeks of the study or something like that, if it was like really important. But I feel like that's not used very frequently. Okay, so now when we click Save, we will see that our welcome message is in place. So we're now ready to go on to number 2. So this is going to be our daily weigh-in. So we're going to select device upload because it's going to be the scale. And then Way to Health knows to show us which devices we have set up. And so we're going to select Withings scale. And we did that during enrollment.
Does everybody else? I think it's just Stacy.
We did that during enrollment yesterday, or the other day.
I don't have any.
So for those of you who don't, just on the left-hand bar, there's the devices section. And add a new device. And then you can name it scale. And then find the Withings scale. Okay. And you can leave all of these criteria
They
here.
default,
So just save it or click add. And then go back and create to your study arms. And then you'll find your female study arm. In the encounter schedule. Sorry, I missed that stuff. I'm like watching you do it. And now create a new encounter.
Bless you.
Device upload, and then Withings scale. Or scale, however you named it.
Great.
Okay.
So, thanks, Christiane. So I'm going to name this daily weigh-in. And these are names, these encounter names are just for you guys. Like, the participant will never see these encounter names. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't need to be super formal, whatever makes the most sense to you. And we want the participant to start weighing in immediately as soon as they start. So the encounter is going to begin on day 0. And we want to leave it open all day. So basically we want anyone to be able to weigh in as early as midnight to as late as midnight, essentially. So, and only that day. So we're going to begin the encounter on day 0 at 12 a.m. And then, this is a little bit confusing, but it ends 0 days later. So it ends that same day at essentially midnight. And because this is a 30-day study and we want them to weigh in every single day, we need to repeat this encounter. So we're going to go down here and we're going to say repeat daily, and we want to repeat the encounter every single day, and we want to repeat it 30 times. Does that make sense? Okay, great.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
It's a little bit unrelated, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
for
okay.
Home Connect.
Yeah.
Can you change what arm a participant is in after they're enrolled?
You can,
Is it problematic?
but it doesn't restart them from the beginning.
Right. Okay. We're just curious because we want to give people the option to continue letting us have their data like after the 30 days, but we don't want to keep getting pain scores. So we were thinking of
So you can just
how we could give people that.
Yeah, we could
option.
talk if you want to talk about it offline,
I
but
thought
yeah.
of a couple different ways to do it.
Yeah.
It just depends. So I'll talk to you. About
Yeah, it's definitely possible though. Okay, so now we have our encounter that is basically going to collect the scale data. Because if you remember in enrollment, one of the steps was authorizing Withings. So now every time that the participant steps on the scale, that data will come into Way to Health. But only one of those, the first weight, will attach to the encounter. So if they step on their scale multiple times, we don't really care. We just want the one. And if it is for weight loss, it's usually the lowest weight. Okay.
Oh, and that was set in the
Devices
device settings that we did 2 days ago.
I know I keep saying yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. So that will allow us to collect those weights. Now we want to set up for number 3, we want to send them feedback on whether they weighed in or not. We don't really care what their weight is. We just want to know, did you weigh in yesterday or did you not weigh in yesterday? So we're going to do a new encounter. Again, this is going to be a roundup, and this is a good use case for a roundup because a roundup generally what it's designed to do is it's designed to look at a previous encounter and then send feedback based on that. So in this scenario, the roundup is going to look at the scale and it's going to say, did you weigh in yesterday? Yes, then send this. If you didn't weigh in, then send that. And I'll show you that in a second.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just do feedback off of the device upload encounter?
Well, so first of all, then it would send immediately after the encounter closed. So
So you
then
can't
it's-
schedule it.
Yeah, you can't schedule
Okay.
it.
So this allows you to schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because it's going to be one day after, because it's always going to be one day after they weighed in, because we want to tell them about yesterday's weight, It's going to start on day 1. And generally, we try not to send anything to participants unless like a clinical reason before 10 a.m. So I usually set daily feedback for 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. depending. And again, we want to repeat this daily every 1 day, 30 times. I'm going to click add. And then we want to go into feedback and we want to send them a message. If they weighed in, then we want to send them a message. And if they didn't weigh in, we want to send them a different message. So when you're here, you're going to do specify earlier encounters. And then you'll go to select encounter and we're going to pick our weigh in. So it's going to look at that scale from yesterday. And you're going to say, of the last 1 encounters, at least 1 were completed. So that means of yesterday's scale, at least 1 were completed, meaning that they actually weighed in. Then we want to send them a message. So we'll select participant. And here I'm going to copy my variable because I'm trying to personalize it.
You guys can follow along. Are you creating this encounter as well?
Yeah, I got lost. I missed a step.
Okay.
So can you...
So feedback on daily weigh. Okay, so you're on the same.
Is everyone else?
Then
Okay.
if
So
you
if
get
they weighed
added-
in, we want to send them this message. We want to encourage them and say congrats for doing this. And I also want to send this via text only. But if they didn't weigh in, I also want to send them some feedback as well. So that's going to be an
Type in.
otherwise.
Just leave it at that, and then so you can follow along with her.
So basically you're using the otherwise criteria because they
Just
didn't
leave
weigh
that
in.
And then do otherwise, so you can follow along. Otherwise message. Select participant. Just so you're on the same page.
Anyone have any questions about that? Okay.
And if you wanted to, the compliance part at the very top,
Mhm.
so completed just means that the weight came in. Compliance means that it was under or over a
Yeah.
target.
Yeah.
If we were going to do it that way.
Yes.
Okay. Is that clear? Kind of what the differences are? Because that wasn't for me. So I'm just asking questions that I know weren't clear for me. Okay.
So I'm gonna save. Great. And you'll see one of the nice things about Way to Health, like once you start adding encounters and you're in the encounter overview, it basically sets them up like a calendar in that it goes in order. So you'll see the day 0 stuff at the top, and then you'll see the day 1, and it will go in order of when it occurs. And you can also see here how many times it repeats. So you can see that this encounter repeats 30 times.
How do you edit that? Like, for example, I put 1 was compliant, but if I click edit, I only see the type round up, and it just goes to the repeat. It doesn't show me the message.
If you go back to feedback.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. So now we want to send our participants one of our motivational text messages. So again, I'm going to do this via roundup.
And again, a roundup is looking at data from before.
It
right?
is, but in this case,
It's not.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
This is not the actual true use case of a roundup. So I'm going to send this on day 3. I just arbitrarily picked that. And I'm going to send it at 12 p.m. And I'm not going to repeat it. It's going to be a one-time text. I'm going to click add. And this is going to be just like the welcome message. I'm going to go into feedback. And then our only option here is specify earlier encounters. And we don't need this to look at anything. We just want it to send out at 12 p.m. on day 3. So we're just going to say then send a message to the participant. And again, I'm going to select text only. And then I'm going to click save feedback.
So you don't have to pick an encounter?
No, because this doesn't need to actually look at anything to decide to send out. It's just like we want this to just go out automatically.
Okay, so it's just like
Yep.
to everyone.
Yep.
So it's because there's no encounter type that is just send a text.
Yeah,
It's
it doesn't need to
basically-
look at anything.
Okay.
It's a little bit confusing, but
Right, so
Yeah,
like pretty much
roundups.
whenever we want to communicate with somebody, be it an email or a text message, we need to create an encounter.
Around
Whether we need that encounter or not, because there isn't a just send message.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's always the feedback to an
yes.
encounter. Just want to get it straight.
Yes. Okay, so what?
I just said good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. So now we're going to set up which is going to be applicable for almost all of you guys, these bidirectional text messaging. So the way that you do this is you create a prompt which is basically the question that you're going to ask the participant. And again, this is going to be via Roundup, so that'll be similar to what we've done before. But then we'll need to set up the SMS device, and we'll need to set up for the ability for the participant to respond to the question and then send feedback based on their response. So let's first set up the Roundup question prompt.
Do they need to create the bidirectional?
Yeah,
text
we're gonna
as
do
a
that
device?
after this.
Okay, great.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure.
Sure. So I'm just going to call this nutrition prompt number 1. I picked for this to happen on day 4 at 11 a.m. And this is not going to repeat, it's just going to be a one-time thing. And then I'm going to go into feedback and I'm going to add my question. So just like the other roundups, we just want this to go out. We don't need it to look at anything. So we're going to send our message to the participant.
I'm following. Okay.
Sorry, Christina.
Yeah.
So when you're asking participants a question via text, I recommend telling them exactly how you want them to respond. So like, for example, here I wrote, please send back response 0 through 8, because for Way to Health, and for it to like register, you have to send the response exactly correct. So that you can't say 0, I'll do better tomorrow. It won't recognize that. It will say, I don't understand. So being as explicit as possible usually eliminates some confusion. And if it's like a repeating, like a thing that you're like the pain response that you're asking them every single day, people tend like eventually after a couple times pick up on that and they understand. But in the beginning, it's good to make sure that it's clear how to send it.
Does it texts back? I don't understand.
If you set it up like that,
Right.
yeah, which we will
One of the
do.
questions I have for mine was where that information gets captured. Because I know, like, ours is poor, fine, good.
Mhm.
So, like, if someone says, like, oh, I slept horribly, like, does that upload somewhere?
It'll be in managed data, which we'll review next time. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna send this via text, and I'm gonna save it. So now we need to actually set up the device so that the bidirectional device so that the participant can actually respond to this prompt. So we're gonna navigate back over to this devices section. I could zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to click Add New Device. And you can call this whatever you want. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find Twilio SMS receiver.
Should we be instructing them to use the MMS receiver now, since it does both? Okay. It's fine.
It depends on whether or not they're going to use pictures.
Yeah.
But I thought we were getting rid of SMS.
No,
I
don't think
they're
so.
still gonna- yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
So you can either go back and do this later, but while we're here, we want to specify what our valid responses are. So in this case, a participant can send back anything 0 through 8. So we're going to do that here. And it could be a yes, a no, it could be the fine, the good. And so you have to do that every single response, and you press enter for each one. So it's going to be like this. And Way to Health is not case sensitive, so you don't have to do capitalization. And then before you can save it, Way to Health forces you to put in an auto response if someone who does not have a Way to Health account just for some reason randomly texts the number. I'm sure this is going to be super rare, but like let's say Christiane decides I want to text this number, but she doesn't have an account, it's going to send like an auto message back. So usually I just recommend to put something like, like the Way to Weight Loss study doesn't recognize your number. Please call or email the study team at blah, blah, blah with any questions. So for right now, I'm just going to put that because...
So what if you want the valid responses to be like any number? So do I need, like if I'm doing weights, should I enter in every number up to like 400 just to be safe? Or
ooh.
I could probably paste it from all off.
I don't know because I've never had...
Yeah, so in your case, they're going to be texting their weights, and it could be any 3-digit or 2-digit number,
Yeah.
I guess.
Or decimal too.
Yeah, so we did this.
Yeah.
I did this
Or
for CHF, and I don't remember how I set it up. So I'll just look back and see what I did, and we can talk about that. But yeah,
That's a good
it's fine.
question.
This is I know you don't have to put that here because that would be if you want to send feedback on each individual response.
So would she just leave it blank?
Yeah.
And then
For
it
the
would collect
weights.
any
Yeah.
data. So if you leave this blank, then they can text anything and it'll attach to the encounter.
It depends, but we could talk about it. This allows you to send feedback based on specific responses.
Got
So
it.
like if I want to select 0 through 2, send this. If I want to select, 3 through 8, send this, which is what we're actually going to set up. But you don't have to put every single weight with every single decimal for them for us to receive it.
Okay. So I could just leave that blank and then the
Yeah.
automatic response would be like, thanks for sending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to click add. And so now you'll see we have our bidirectional device. So one of the things that you'll have to do, and this would be when you would put in like a JIRA help ticket, is we have to go into the Twilio system and actually put this code in. This is not something that you guys can do. So you would just put in a ticket asking us to, enable your bidirectional SMS, and this basically allows participants to text back and forth. But we don't need that for the purposes of this. So we'll go back to study arms, and now we're going to make it so that the participant can text in to our nutrition prompt.
So we're gonna go to study arms and then find the female arm and click encounter schedule.
And then again, we're going to do new encounter, and because bidirectional text messaging is considered a device, we're going to select device upload. And now you should see device source, and you should see bidirectional SMS, or whatever you named it as the option.
The same encounters in both the male arm and female arm.
That's in our development queue right now.
In one.
So for
copy.
right now, yeah.
So
right
like
now,
the
yeah.
welcome message, we have to do it twice.
Yes.
It's like
yeah,
that.
you
Yes.
have to rebuild it in
Yeah.
both arms, basically.
Not for long, though.
I think this is validation, right?
Yeah, this is validation for Iris.
Why was that something you guys like fought for?
It's already in development.
Yeah,
right
they're
now,
actually working
the
on it
ability
right
to copy arms. So
Cool.
look
Should
for
be-
those release notes. Look at your release notes.
Yeah.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, actually, is it going to be totally done and available by the end of the spring?
Theoretically.
Yeah, so it might actually, for Penn Heart study, you guys might benefit
Yeah, it might
from
be
that.
able to use
Might
that.
be our first guinea pigs.
Yeah, you can beta test it.
Yeah.
I love being guinea pig. That's been having trouble at every turn.
Oh,
And that is all the blocking going to be a lot too. So you could say like add all of the messages from female plus also add this additional thing like blood pressure.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So which I know is something
Oh.
Stephanie was looking
Wait.
for as well. Oh, sorry. I meant to sleep.
There it
Back.
is.
Yay. Okay, so now I'm just going to name this nutrition response number 1. So because we're sending, oops, I have this wrong on here, on this paper. Because we're sending the prompt on day 4 at 11 a.m., we also want the nutrition response device upload to start at the same time. So it's going to be on day 4. And I'm going to start it at 11 a.m. because that's when we're sending the prompt. And then it's going to end 0 days later, so it's going to close out that same day at essentially midnight. So we're basically giving them 13 hours to respond to this question.
Yeah, and I think something that we found when we set up the Penn Mood Tracker was that if you're doing 2 questions, that the encounter times can't overlap, right? So if you're asking the question about mood and the question about sleep quality, we kept them separate so that it knows which response goes with which encounter.
They
Is that true?
can overlap, but the response choices have to be different. So
Okay. Oh, so that's what we
that's
did.
why we did the good, fine, poor
Instead of like
versus
1,
the
2,
1
3.
through
Okay.
5 or whatever we
Because
did.
otherwise it wouldn't know.
It wouldn't know which one. Does that make sense to people? So, yeah, if you have 2 questions that are occurring on the same day and they have the same like response format, like send 0 through 5, they can't overlap because Way to Health doesn't know, okay, do I attach it to the pain response or the sleep response. So the encounters would have to be separate. So we are not going to repeat this. So I'm going to click add. And then we're going to build our feedback based on the participant's response. So we're going to go into feedback. So this is going to send them feedback based on what their response 0 through 8 is. So we're going to do if completed and we want to change this to any. So for our first option, because we want to send, if they text back 0 through 2, we want to say to them, thank you for letting us know, try to eat more today. And then we're going to say, is response choice, and it's going to give us all of those valid responses that we put under that device. So if they send back 0, 1, or 2, which is why we made this any and not all.
Does that happen often?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We never noticed that when we were in conflict.
those 2 floors made a difference, I guess.
Well, also, I guess
you get response choice?
So if any, and then select the option.
Select
This
field.
Select field is response choice. Let's see. Select field. Response choice.
So if they say 0 through 2, then we want to send them a message. Thank
Then
you
we're gonna
for
send a
the
message.
So we don't do anything.
Correct. Yeah.
What are all of these other options that I've never used? Ever used a message?
Are we gonna walk through anything like that? That's like something other than sending a message on feedback.
Yeah,
Okay,
reopening
we'll-
counter.
Okay.
I mean, I can't
I
go
honestly don't know.
I can't go through every single one, but yeah. A lot of these are for gamification.
Okay. So then select participant,
No, I think we would add.
and then the message is gonna be, thank you for letting us know. Try to eat more today.
So then also if they send back 3 through 8, we're gonna start a new one. So this is for 0 through 2. We also want to set one up for 3 through 8. So again, we're gonna do the if criteria, completed and just like above, any of the following are true of response choice, and then we're going to select 3 through 8.
And we want any. not
What's
all.
the meaning of response choice versus like why are the numbers under that response choice versus like valid or numeric?
So numeric is just like if they're sending in any number, but there's no way to delineate like from a 0 from an 8.
So that would actually be in Christina's case. that
Yes.
She
That's
asked
what I was gonna
about.
say.
Yeah.
She wants to make sure that it's a weight that's
Yeah.
coming in.
That's
Otherwise,
good.
it's
That's
not
good.
gonna.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Wait, sorry, I missed the advice for that.
That's okay. You would do is it
Oh,
numeric?
perfect. Okay.
Because you don't really care what the weight is, you just want to make sure it's a number. So here, if they send back 3 through 8, then message, again, it's getting a little redundant. Oops.
Is there something that we can do like this value is above, or like?
Yep.
Okay.
So, let me see here.
So what are we
Let me
doing for
think.
this last one?
I'm looking to see I'm trying to look at what Christina just asked.
Oh, okay.
No, that's
For
not it.
recipients, so it has, it looks like research coordinator, project manager,
Mhm.
like participant already in there. Is there
Yeah.
a way to like add other options to that? Like for example, if we had certain people on our team that were designated
Yep,
to
so their
respond to
names
certain
would come up
things.
in the drop down. So like if
Okay.
like if like Stephanie was like assigned as like project manager on her name would come up as an option.
Right. But is there anything other than project manager? Like, can we add like 8 people and not 3?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
anybody with that role. So when we set up a user account, they have a role. So Stephanie would be project manager in Way to Health. So that's maybe
Christina, it's response numeric.
So you're saying anybody without a role
So-
in Way to Health, like
You would
just
say if-
kind of like copying them the notification?
I
Like
guess I'm not really
greater
sure
than, and
what
then you can put the
constitutes
number.
to be a Way to Health role. Like for example, on our
Does that make
teams,
sense?
we have physician assistants who have their own patients, and they'll be managing like a list of ERAP patients, and so there'll be a few different groups of those. So, for example, we'll have
No,
PAs,
I was
and so
asking-
there'll be
answering her question. I'm gonna do that
some
next.
messages that if weight is below this, then they're probably the right point person. But if it's blood pressure or something, then it could go to someone else.
Do they
Or-
have, would they have interaction with the Way to Health platform? Like, would you set them up with a Way to Health account?
Yes.
Okay, then
Then
they
yeah.
would be in that
Yeah.
drop down, and you would be able
Their
to
name, you could select
them.
their name.
Yeah, I think the only
Oh, so it's not
delineation
like
there
all
is like
project managers.
they
it's
have
more-
You can. You can either do it individually or you can do all.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so that
Okay.
answers your question. I actually wasn't sure if that was a limitation or not.
Okay, so now we want to do if the participant sends an invalid response. So if they send back anything but 0 through 8, we want to let them know and we want to let them respond, try again, basically. So we're going to do if completed and, just like above. And we can leave this as all because it's only one option. There's not multiple choices like above. And then is valid choice. So if it's from that list that we put up together, that's 0 through 8. If the answer is no, so basically if they're sending anything but 0 through 8, then we want to send them a message. And we just want to tell them we didn't understand your response. And again, it's usually helpful to tell them exactly how you want them to format the response. So now we're telling them that we didn't understand, but we need to make the ability to have them like respond back, and then if they do send it in the correct format the second time, to send the feedback based on that. So in order to do that, we need to select reopen encounter from the add a consequence list drop down. You'll see that here. If you don't do this and the participant texts back the correct response, like let's say they send back 8, they won't get any feedback because the encounter will have closed because their first response will have closed the encounter. Whereas this allows it to reopen the encounter and it allows them to then get feedback on that response of 8. Does that make sense? Okay.
Is that the open disencounter thing always there? Or do you
Nope, so I went to add a consequence.
Oh, and you click.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't want it for any of these because they already sent what you wanted. You only want it for when they send something incorrect and you want them to try again. Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
What if you want the response to be based on like change between what they sent today and what they sent yesterday? Can you look at a previous text, I guess? So if they're way to changing.
It's a variable. It would be like pulling a variable from yesterday, right?
You're saying if there's enough change, so like if somebody has lost weight
Yeah.
versus gained weight.
Not
That
so.
would-
it's
yeah.
That's a
really-
target,
Yeah.
right?
Because we would want to go in and put in like 150 every day and say greater than. You know, like we'd want it to be based on whatever they'd sent previously.
Yeah, that would be
That's a
development
target,
work.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the target.
Okay, so
that
it's possible.
development. It is possible. It's just extra
Okay.
work. Yeah.
Might not be possible with your timeline though.
Right.
Oh,
So
there
we
you
should
go.
talk
Yeah.
about that. So I think that what would be ideal is to like think about an intervention that works within the confines of what we can do here, and then we can schedule development work if it's needed.
Okay. So we're all set with that. And so that's how you basically set up bi-directional text messaging. Before we move on to the next part, does anyone have any questions? Because I know it's a little bit complicated. And there are more resources on Confluence about how to do this if you want to refer to that. But okay. So now we're going to send our motivational text number 2, except this one's going to be a little bit different than the first one. So we're going to do add a new encounter. And instead of just setting it as a roundup, we only want to send this to participants who, if you remember from Monday, we asked them who their employer was, and we only want to send this to people who said that they work at Pizza Hut and say that they deliver pizzas. So in order to do that, we need to look at that screening survey because otherwise Way to Health doesn't know. So for this type, it's actually going to be a survey look-back encounter, meaning it's looking back at that survey and deciding what to do based on the participant's response. So if you didn't add the surveys, you're not going to have this option. But we're going to look at that screening survey.
So maybe just follow along.
Yeah, just follow along if you don't have the surveys. And I'm going to call this motivational text number 2. I'm going to make this on day 15 at 11 a.m. And then we're going to add that. So you can see here this little icon is showing that it's looking back at a previous survey.
What is that send notification question mark box?
So that's basically sends a notification to the participant when the encounter opens. We'll do that for when we set up the survey, so you can let them know that the survey is open and they can now fill it out. So we're going to go into feedback. And then if completed and then we're going to go here, and you'll see here all those screening questions that we created on Monday are now popping up again because we're looking at that screening survey. So we're going to find our question that is applicable, and for this it's, do you deliver pizzas? And if they said yes to that question, then we want to send them a message. And we want to say, when you are not out, oops. Okay.
And again, she's just making it a safeguard by picking text
Yeah.
only.
Does anyone have questions about that?
I have a question.
Sure.
So if the survey question, this really only works if it's a multiple choice question. If they typed in, if it was like a text response to the survey question, it would be really difficult to do this.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't.
I don't even know if that's like, if we were to do this.
I mean, it doesn't really make sense what I'm asking now that I think about it, because if you want to know a certain data point, it would be a multiple choice. So.
Unless you have like an other, and
So-
you're expecting them to like fill it out, right?
But so like our other that we added,
Mm-hmm.
like it wouldn't show the like where they put, it would just be other.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't like give you the blank, the fill in the blank. So we're gonna save that. Does So this is cool because it allows you to send, tips or feedback to people that for only the people that it applies to. So if you said that you don't deliver pizzas, you won't ever get this text, which is pretty cool. Okay, so now I want to set up, we're on to number 8, the invalid response alert to the team, which I know a couple of you guys have either asked for this or we've set it up previously. So this is going to basically set up an alert, to, let's say, the research coordinator if the participant texts in anything but a valid response. So if they text in anything but that 0 through 8, just so we can go in and check, and just in case they said like help or call me or something like that, you'll be alerted. So again, this is going to be a device upload, and it's going to be a bidirectional SMS because it's going to be looking for those text messages. And I want this to be running all the time. I want it to be the entire duration of the study. So I'm going to start it on day 0 at 12 a.m. and then end 0 days later. I want it to repeat every single day at 11:59 p.m. So we have to do our repeat daily every one day 30 times. So then in order to set up the feedback, we're going to go into feedback, and then we're going to say if completed and. So this is going to be if they send anything but that 0 through 8, so is valid choice no, then message, and then we're going to select research coordinator. I'm going to put my variables in here so we know who it's talking about. And I'm going to make this email only because I think for most of you guys, you'll just have your email address in Way to Health, and you definitely do not want to be texted. So that would get really annoying. So I will send this via email only. And then I also want to, again, like we did for the last one, reopen this encounter. And the reason that I want to do this is, let's say the participant sends 2 texts that day that are invalid. So if they send one text that says help and then another text that says, call me, if you don't do the reopen the encounter, then you won't get alerted about the second text that they send, and that's only for that day. Any questions about that?
So this is slightly different from the other thing that Emmy had run into, which was the want to send a message to the participant if they send a text message to this account when there isn't an encounter open, right?
The safety auto response.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah,
that
this
would
is to the team.
Okay.
So that's like what we set up for ERAP, which is, it's kind of, as we experience with the ERAP one, it's kind of a pain because you have to do it in, like for this, it's super easy because we only have the one encounter, the one nutrition prompt, but you have to do it like basically work around the different,
Right, the open windows.
the open windows. Okay. So then the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to administer an end of study survey. So I'm going to do add a new encounter. and then we're going to select survey. And we didn't actually create an end of study survey, so I'm just going to, for the purposes of this example, I'm just going to use my screening survey. And then for the encounter section, for the timing, we want it to be at the end. So let's say this starts on day 30. We'll open it at 11 a.m. And here is where in the participant message box we can alert them about the survey opening. So we'll say, hi, oops. And then you can also include this end date, which is pretty cool. You can tell them how long the survey is open until. So you have until end date, and it will autofill that. And then you can include the survey link directly. So you'll copy that variable, and I'll just put it at the end here. And that will allow them to complete the survey if this is either via email or text. If they have a smartphone, it will be a link. They'll just click on it and it'll open it in their browser. They don't have to log into anything. They can just click the link in the text.
The link has the 160 characters.
It does, I believe. Oftentimes it will send in a text right after this. And we want to send this as a notification. And we want to do that via text only.
To make the link shorter, could you use like a link shortener and use that link instead, like a bit.ly link?
But it's
So
a
this
Qualtrics survey.
You couldn't create a bit.ly link to a Qualtrics survey?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think you might be able to.
This is, I hear what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I think this is connecting, like it's connecting it for you, so I'm not sure that you have control over it.
Right, just saying like if you didn't use that variable and just like put in your own.
Oh, right, like if you said
The link
you just,
itself,
Right.
text.
I don't know.
I don't know, something to consider.
yeah.
I would definitely recommend testing that because I've never done that.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't have to log in when they get this.
Nope.
Just-
Yeah, which is the nice thing about that. So as far as the encounter window, we want it to start on day 30 at 11 a.m., which is when they'll receive this text about the survey. For surveys, I recommend leaving it open for like 14 days. It's totally up to you. So if you do want to do 2 weeks, like I just said, I'll just say here 14 days later, and I'll just leave 11:59. And we're not going to repeat the survey. It's only going to be a one-time survey. So I'm going to click Add. And then we want to thank the participant for completing the survey if they fill it out. So we'll do that via feedback. So we'll just say, if completed, we don't need the and in this case. It's just if they filled it out, then message. Okay. But what if so you send this on day 30, but what if they don't fill it out right away, which is pretty typical. We want to send them some reminders to fill it out. So again, this is going to be a good use case for a roundup. So we're going to do add new encounter, roundup, and the reason that this is a good use case is because it's going to look at that survey, and if they basically we're going to set it up so that if they completed the survey, we're not going to send them a reminder. If they didn't complete it, then we're going to send them a reminder. So I'm just going to call this end of study survey reminder.
Is there a reason that we don't do that in the same encounter as the survey where we thank them? Like as in otherwise, if it's not completed?
Because that wouldn't go out until day 14 when the encounter closes.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to set this at day 33. So we're basically giving them 3 days to fill out the survey on their own, and then we're going to start annoying them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, good.
Will the thank you for completing message go on day 14 too, or does that happen immediately?
Only if they filled out the survey.
So that happens immediately when we
Yes.
Okay.
So as soon as the encounter closes, so if they filled it out, like as soon as they fill it out, they'll get that.
Okay.
If they didn't fill it out, they won't ever get the thank you for completing. So because our end of study survey opens on day 30, we want to start reminders on day 33. I said 11 a.m. And I want to repeat the survey daily, but not actually daily. I want to do it every 2 days, 3 times. So basically this will send the first reminder on day 33, then day 35, then day 37. So I'm going to add that, and then we're going to set up the feedback for that. So we need to look at that end of study survey. So we're going to do specify earlier encounters, and we're going to select our end of study survey. So here we're going to say of the last one encounters, at least one were completed. So this is saying if the end of study survey was completed, then we don't want to send them anything. We don't need to send them a reminder because they already did it. So we're actually going to go down to this otherwise section and message them.
What type of encounter is the survey reminder?
And a roundup. Because it's going to look at the survey and decide if they completed it, and if they did, it's not going to send them anything, and if they didn't, so otherwise, we're going to send them this reminder.
Is it possible to send the survey link in this message or no? Because it's not on the
Unfortunately, no, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
If that were an option, you would see it here
Okay,
as a
so we
variable.
can only use whatever.
What's,
option.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm going to see.
Like technically, could you put the URL to the survey in there?
Yeah, you just can't use the variable.
How would it know
Yeah.
it's the participant, that specific participant though?
Mm.
I think that's why you can't just put
Yeah. I don't know.
Because
I
if they
never
just
done
took the
that
survey, then how would it know that it was
for
participant
them.
101?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the advantage of using our variable over like just
The
putting
link.
in like a bit.ly link
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I think that
yeah,
Right.
that it's tracked to the participant rather than just like
because they're
sending them
Right.
to the place.
they're
yeah.
filling out the survey through We Health. That's
Yeah.
why. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that's it in terms of what I had for this. Does anyone want to, have any other questions or review any other type of encounters?
I think it would be helpful if we
Sure.
could look at the feedback options and if you could maybe share with them like the most common, because I know besides messaging that there's
Mhm.
maybe like one or two other reasons.
Yeah, so I'll just,
Or maybe it does it depend on the encounter too. What feedback options are available or not?
it does. So let's,
Or does anyone have like an example or like you're thinking in your mind that you want to build a certain encounter type and not really sure how to go about it?
Well, that'd be helpful to see what those are first. And
Okay.
Oh, okay. So why did you use a roundup and not an alert message?
Because with the alert message, you can't specify the notification preference.
Okay.
So what is an alert message?
It's just sending a message, which is fine, but you can't do that safeguard as send via text only.
Okay. And I guess if they're in their profile, their preference was
Is
like,
email, then it would
email,
go
then it
via
would go as
email. Yeah. So alert message is totally fine to use, but I'm always paranoid and I want to make sure that everything goes the exact method that I want it to, just in case something was incorrect in their profile. But it does the same thing.
Interesting. So if you could force, because I know that was a question we had for Penn Moon Tracker, if you can force the participant to select text message only as their preference, then you would have used this.
Yeah.
For some of the messaging.
Yeah.
Okay.
what's office?
So that's you filling out a survey that the participant can't see. So let's say they were coming in for, so let's say at the end of our intervention we wanted to weigh them, but we wanted to do that in office. You would select office visit and it would give you the survey choice. So you'd have end of study weigh-in or something. And you would schedule it for day 30. And then when you went to their profile and their encounters to fill out the survey, it wouldn't actually go to them. They would never see it. You would fill it out on the back end. So it's not real. It's called an office visit in that it's only for the research or the study team to see. The participant will never actually fill it out. It hides it from them. Whereas a regular survey, you can fill it out or they can fill it out.
Okay.
Whereas an office visit, just we can fill it out.
And the survey look back is for looking back at the screens. Right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Deposits.
We don't even use these. I've asked for them to be removed.
Yeah, settlement.
Settlement and deposit need to be removed. They are.
And I don't think
thing.
nobody has gaming features here. No.
No.
So we would have to go over that.
That's most of the feedback options. If you go to, oops, I just add a test one. If you look at what the actual options are, so the top one, so an incident will send a message to all the research coordinators. So that's why for you guys, and specifically not so much for maybe more research studies, but I select message because you'll have the option once you have I know for Christina, for you guys for the cirrhosis, you have a lot of accounts, but you don't want everyone getting a message.
Yeah.
So that's why here I'll do message because I can select the individual people that I actually want, whereas with incident it goes to everyone.
And that would go as an email or however.
Yeah.
it was selected.
Yeah.
In case I did want to
Yeah. Then your other options are marking as compliant. So again, I think Christine kind of touched on this, but if you're looking at, you want them to weigh a certain amount. So it'd be this is not a good example.
Is there feedback options that go?
Yeah. But basically, not only did they do it, but did they meet a certain criteria? So did they weigh in under what they were supposed to? Or I've never used these before. And then so then there's the reopen encounter, which we use for the bidirectional text messaging. And then the rest of these are all gamification.
Yeah, that's interesting because I wish Iris was still here. It seems there's a lot of things that don't apply if you're using gamification. So
Yeah.
it could be a more simplified thing if you set your study up a certain way or something.
Yeah.
But it sounds for the most part you're either sending a message or marking something as compliant. Those
Yeah.
are the two.
And
Most-
reopening an encounter.
Yeah.
So anything else? All right,
So you
I'm
guys
gonna
have
stop
these-
recording.
Yeah, you